This is the Dark Illumination Report Extra for Saturday, July 4th, 2020. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about practicing diabolism with depression and anxiety.
This is a Dark Illumination Report Extra with RJ Womack.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this July 4th edition of the podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody has a good 4th of July. On today's episode, I'm going to be answering a question from Ang Cooper, who asked me, how does Satan feel about depression and anxiety? Now, I can't specifically answer the question as to what Satan specifically thinks about anxiety or depression. What I can tell you is based on my experience as a diabolist and as a person who has been around a lot of people who have anxiety and who have dealt with anxiety and practice diabolism with anxiety. Satan does not tolerate weakness. He does not tolerate excuses or victim mentality, should I say. One of the things about Satan is that he requires that we take responsibility for ourselves. He requires that we face our weaknesses. We overcome the obstacles in our life, whether they're mental, physical, or otherwise. He requires of his true followers to strengthen themselves and to better themselves. So let's take something like anxiety or depression. Now, you may not be able to cure those things, but he would expect his followers to manage them and to take responsibility for them and to manage them in such a way that they could maintain a balanced life as much as possible. So just because you have anxiety or depression doesn't mean you're not worthy to be a servant of Satan or that you're not worthy to be a diabolist. It just means that you're going to have to manage your obstacles and do what you can to take responsibility for those things and to do whatever you can to help yourself. As I've said before on this podcast, Satan does not tolerate victim mentality. He does not tolerate excuses or weakness in the sense that he doesn't like victimhood. That's been my experience anyway. And so I also want to be clear about something else too. Just because Satan does not tolerate victimhood and just because Satan expects us to take responsibility for ourselves does not mean that he is impatient or intolerant or he doesn't understand that people have to work hard at overcoming their obstacles in their life. He will give you plenty of time. But if you go out of your way to take the piss, if you go out of your way to waste his time, he will eventually, make you face consequences for that. He will be patient, but he will also make you pay for it if you play games with him and you act like a victim with him. At least that's been my experience anyway, and that's been the experience of people that I've known in the past and people that have worked with Satan in the past. And that's the only advice I can give you. I hope it helps. For those of you who are wondering if your question's coming up next, I just want to let Sophie know that her question is going to be on the next episode. And she asked me about holidays that I practice and the type of practices that I do. And she asked me about the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. I'll be addressing that and a few other things on the next episode. One last thing I need to ask everybody. If you listen to this podcast on Apple iTunes, or if you have access to Apple iTunes, please go and leave us a review. We don't have any recent reviews. The latest review I've seen is from 2018. So we need some new reviews on most podcast apps. So if you appreciate what we do here and you appreciate the work that I'm doing, I would really appreciate it if you would go leave us a quick review on iTunes or any other podcast hosting service or directory, because we really need it. We want to let people know that we're here. We want to let people know that we're serious about promoting the religious worship of Satan, and anything you could do to help us promote the podcast would be greatly appreciated. That's it for today, guys. Until next time, until tomorrow, may Satan be with you, and I hope your 4th of July goes well and everybody have a good time.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.